Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Nightly Sports Call.
Thank you very much, Ken. Welcome everybody to the Nightly Sports Call. I'm Josh Taylor in tonight for Bob Pompiani. Quite a bit to get into this evening. First off, we'll give you an update on the Penguins and the Golden Knights in Vegas. Right now, that game is tied at 1 apiece. Very early in the game, Vegas got on the board first. It was James Neal, the former Penguin, scores on a rebound. David Perron, another former Penguin, got an assist on that goal. So Pittsburgh West took the early 1-0 of Matt Murray versus Marc-Andre Fleury in the net. But the Penguins recently, in the past couple minutes, have tied that game. Ian Cole, in a really nice off-angle shot near the goal line, gets the goal to tie the game at 1 for the Penguins in a game, which, by the way, even though it's in Vegas at the T-Mobile Center, looks a lot like there's a kind of a Pittsburgh contingent to it. A lot of fans there cheering on the Penguins, but a very interesting game. We'll keep you updated on that score as we go along. Plenty to talk about. In the meantime, of course, there is the elephant in the room, as Mike Tomlin called it a few weeks back. Steelers, Patriots, Sunday, 4:25 at Heinz Field. Coverage, of course, on KDKA. 4:25 is the kickoff. But that's a game that's everybody within football is going to be talking about. You're seeing the pregame coverage as far as national TV is concerned. They're going to be live on location at Heinz Field. This is a game that pretty much most of the big names in pro football are talking about, because you're talking about the two best teams right now. Of this game, the road to the Super Bowl is likely going to go through that team's home stadium. So there's a lot on the line in this game. And of course, there's the usual suspects in this game. There's Bill Belichick, obviously. There's Tom Brady, obviously. There's Rob Gronkowski. There's names that you're going to hear throughout this this series history between these two teams, especially within the past decade. And the questions keep coming around. Well, can the Steelers stop Tom Brady? Can the Steelers offense do enough and outscore the Patriots to do it? What's Bill Belichick going to do schematically? What's Mike Tomlin going to do schematically? And the one thing we know for certain is that neither of those guys are going to tell us anything. They're not going to tell us what they're thinking. They're not going to tell us what they're doing. They're not going to tell us what they're going to do personnel-wise. Basically, all they're saying is, yeah, we know that team is good, and we know we've got to stop them. And that's pretty much it. Some have gone into detail. Mike Mitchell talked about it today. He said the best way to beat Tom Brady, keep him off the field. You got to win on possession downs. You got to win on third down, force them into third long situations and make it harder to sustain drives. Make sure you have longer drives with your offense, preferably drives that end in points that make it harder for them to try to get points on you and score and take leads. Basically was what they were laying it down into more simpler terms. But to try to get into the finer points of it, these are two teams that have kept this meeting so close to the vest as far as what they plan to do to beat each other, because it seems like the tide changes. Every time they meet, there's a different theme. One theme that seems to get old with Steeler fans is Tom Brady and how good he's been against the Steelers. In the past 6 games, and I talked about this during KDKA News at 6, in the past 6 games, Tom Brady has averaged 312 yards passing. He's averaged, somewhere between 2 and 3 touchdowns, and he hasn't thrown any picks in those last 6 games. He's also only been sacked 10 times. That's less than 2 times per game in these last 6 meetings with the Steelers, and he's won 5 out of those 6 meetings. This is what we're talking about here. This is what you're up against. On the other side of it, Ben Roethlisberger is playing his best football this season. I remember this specifically after the Jacksonville game, talking about how if the Steelers were going to get to where they needed to go, the quarterback play had to be better, but it also had to be better around him. The offensive line had to be better. The wide receivers had to be better. The running game had to be better. And you know what? It's been that way the last 8 games. We've seen Ben Roethlisberger on one of the best stretches of his career, numbers-wise, as far as what he's averaged per game and what he's done in the collective of it. Equally as hot has been Tom Brady. So for me, I said this last night, if you're looking for some good advice for this game, take the over. That's the best advice I can give you. I expect both of these guys to come out and look to do as much as they can to put their team on top and try to have an edge over the other one. I imagine there's a lot of respect between these two quarterbacks and what their resumes look like. Now, granted, Tom Brady's resume looks about as good as anybody's that's ever played the game, if not better than anybody's that's ever played the game. But Ben Roethlisberger's looks pretty good, too. These are two quarterbacks pretty much at the height of the league right now as far as the top 2 in this game. I expect both of these guys to probably try to control the pace of this game and what happens. I expect a lot of play calls at the line. I expect a lot of adjustments. I expect them to both take a lot of instances where they see one thing and say, you know what, we're going to do this based on what we see here. There may be some back and forth. There may be some gamesmanship. There may be some adjustments here and there. Maybe even a couple of what's the word I'm looking for? Dummy kind of calls or dummy kind of plays or kind of moving around and movement before the line or movement before the snap to try to throw the other one off. And that's going to happen a lot in this game. Both of these coaches are going to try to one-up each other. But I expect it to be a pretty interesting game in terms of what these two teams do schematically and game plan-wise. In the meantime, we got to take a break. We'll come back. We will take your phone calls, 412-575-2600 on the Mortis and Bordas hotline. We'll talk Penguins and we'll talk Pirates winter meetings as well as how uneventful they might have been. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stick around.